Welcome everyone. I think we have a lot of attendees. Welcome to this webinar on the EPI IT Management certification. It's organized by EPI and EXIN. I'm Saskia Rehorst. I'm the Customer Success Manager for EXIN, and as such responsible for EXIN's after sales support, partner support, and especially all accreditation activities. The webinar will be presented by Edward van Leent from EPI, and just as a general note, if you have any questions during the webinar, please use the questions options in the menu. If it's a specific question for only you, it will be picked up offline with you directly by either EPI or EXIN. But if it's a general question that might be interesting for all attendees, we'll answer during the Q&A section at the end of the webinar. We'll enjoy it, and I'll give the floor to Edward.
Thank you very much, Saskia, for the introduction, and everybody welcome to this webinar where we're going to talk about an interesting new offering which we hope you would like, which is the EPI IT training framework, which we bring together with EXIN. So what we would like to discuss today is talking a little bit about some of the industry challenges that we see around the world. We talk about how the IT training framework is addressing that particular challenge. We start talking a little bit about how you can actually start a conversation with your customers about this, some objections that you might have and how to counter them. And then we'll go into the details of the partner model. So without further ado, I think it's pretty clear, and I'm sure that you've seen it around you as well, that people keep complaining about the skill shortage and knowledge gap in the IT industry. Not enough people, not enough experienced people. People have not the right skills and competence at the moment to address the fast pace of change that is happening in the IT industry. As you know, a lot of things are changing. Data centers and IT is moving from on-prem into a shared environment with software as a service, cloud technologies, etc. And it's just very, very hard to keep up. So it is a big issue. And one of the issues is that many of the competence that people need for all these new technologies and changes in IT need to be addressed, but it's very hard to find it. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with the competence framework that has been developed in Europe. There is now actually an official standard number for it, which you see here, the EN 16234, which is defining the competences that IT people need in today's market. The bad news, there is no single training that is addressing all those competences at different proficiency levels. So what is happening now, a lot of the organizations, they trying to make their own program, so to speak, by sending the staff to a variety of specialized trainings. Now, obviously, it's very time consuming because instead of having one focused training where you can get the required knowledge in a couple of days, people end up 3 days specialized course here, 2 days there, another 3 days here, getting material which is probably far deeper than what they might require for their job role. And of course, from a company point of view, it's very ineffective because your staff will be spending a lot of time in the classroom. It's very costly, and they're probably only going to use a fraction of what they have been presented. So it's kind of like a learning waste and all that. So that is a pity. So what we have done, we have developed a specific training program around this challenge that organizations and individuals are facing. So what we have done, we have looked at the competence framework, and we have mapped all the required competences for different job levels, so to speak, and combined them. So we have broken it down into 3 distinct levels: the CIT, so the Certified IT Operator, IT Manager, and IT Director. Now, although the titles of the courses are very distinct, Director, Manager, Operator, they can be applied to a variety of job scopes. So, of course, the CIO, business information managers, people that tend to work in IT but at a more strategic level, they would be a very good target for an IT Director's level course. people in line management with maybe an aspiring interest into going to the strategic level, they will be better off to look at, say, a manager's course. And then we have the people that are entering into the industry, either out of school, etc., or they are working in a frontline type of environment like service desk environments, etc., and they would go for the operator module. So ideally, people would start with one of the CIT type of modules. So for example, if you have staff which is coming out of the educational sector and you're gonna hire them, then the perfect scenario would be to first run them through CITO, which gives them a great foundation, understanding all the required competences within the IT industry segment. And then from there, you might specialize them in certain areas. So for example, if you would have somebody who is a network engineer, you might want to get them through CITO, so they clearly understand all the aspects of IT and how that adds value to the business. And then on top of that, you might send them to one specific course related to network technologies, installation techniques, and so forth. Again, if you have people that are more aimed at, say, a data center environment, you might want to send them through the certified data center professional, for example. Now, it is not a pre-requirement, obviously, so you can't say, oh, I have already somebody working here for a couple of months, did already a, let's say, ITIL foundations, so now I can't do it anymore. It doesn't work like that. So in principle, the ideal starting point would be indeed with one of the CIT courses, and then on top of that, certain specific modules. But if you have already staff that went through certain modules, they would still gain a great benefit out of going, for example, in this case, the CITO. Similar for the IT manager. Yeah, IT management is, of course, much more into the technical and line management. Again, ideally, you would have people who would like to go into a team leader's role or supervisor role, first go to CITM, get all the basics in place, and then further specialize them in various areas of interest. And again, similar, you could also have that for the IT director's level. So again, you can do it ideally as a front step into, but if you have already people working at certain positions, you could easily recommend the customer to take up one of those courses to give people really this overall competence view. Because what we've seen in the industry is that sometimes there are managers in managers positions, but they grew in there because they were just great technical people, and now they suddenly get faced with management tasks, which is very hard for them, and they sometimes just don't know how to get it all done. So what are the benefits? Well, clearly we are addressing all the competences required for a modern IT professional. The courses as well as the exams are accredited by EXIN. As you know, that gives a quality stamp on the exams as well as the material itself. And it's really supporting anybody working in the IT industry with how they can progress their career, whether they are starting in the IT industry fresh, or whether they have been already working in the industry for many, many years and just want to gain expert knowledge. Now, for a partner, there is great news as well, because this is a unique course. There is simply no competition in this course, and it's new. And of course, new might not always be good, but in this case, news is very good because it's really matching what customers are looking for. Therefore, easy to sell. And it really complements your existing training. It's not competing with your training, it's adding value to, and therefore you could potentially, generate more sales for yourself. So how do you start a conversation with your customers? Well, many ways to do that, and it really depends on who you are talking to. Whether you're talking to, for example, an IT professional, whether you're talking to a manager, whether you talk about the human resource department. Again, there are many different stories to tell and many different questions to ask. So I've picked out here just a handful. One of the key questions that you could really have a good opening with is to ask them, say, when you hire new staff, is it true that you spend a lot of time actually training them on, say, your IT environment or on new technologies? because we all know that those that coming out of the educational sector, so to speak, are coming from school, whether it's a polytechnic or university, the biggest complaint we always hear from organizations that they say, well, they have a reasonable foundation, but we still have to explain them about the latest technology, the acronyms and what they really mean, how it really relates to business, etc. So there's still this gap. So great conversation, say, do you have this problem as well? And you probably have 80-90% of the customers say, well, that's true, we spend a considerable amount of trying to beef them up to the level where we want to have them. Sometimes you can ask the question, say, and who is doing that? And very often they will give you the answer, well, my existing staff. And that's a great entry, of course, to say, well, don't you think that's a waste of time for your staff to be hindered by somebody that needs to be handheld potentially for a very long time? Why don't you think it's more efficient to get them through maybe a 2-3 day course to get them to that level, right? Other things like for those people that you have hired, or maybe people that are sitting at the service desk or are just relatively new into IT, do you see that they are having a hard time understanding the more senior people? They talk about cloud technology, and the service desk people typically have no clue what that really means for example, their own job environment. Have you ever thought about sending staff to a generic training? And some of them will say, well, we thought about it, but it's either we make it ourselves because there is just nothing in the industry. Hence, we have to send them through all kind of courses, trying to get them to the level that we really, really need. And of course, you can have some questions like, since you are sending everybody to specialized training, wouldn't it be of benefit to you to have a general training where they can be really learning all those competences required? So tell me, Mr. Customer, what options do you have? And again, very often they will say there is none. And obviously then you can take out your brochure, so to speak, and say, well, we have the solution right in front of you. If you talk to individuals, when we are talking to individuals, it typically, and again, it varies from individual to individual, of course, but what we find is that individuals are not always so, let's put it in this way, organization focused. In other words, if you say, why don't you take this training because your organization will benefit greatly from it, you might get a very different response along the different levels of the organization. So when we talk to individuals, we typically try to work a little bit more on the self-interest. So questions like, do you think that if you have an IT manager certificate, that would help you in your existing career, either within the same company, or maybe if you change job roles or go to another company, do you think that this would give you an extra bonus point? And of course, it's hard to deny that having credible certifications like EXIN certifications, having a nice title to it like IT manager or IT director, everybody will understand that that is of great interest for themselves. And of course, we can also talk about by you having the right competence, you will be much more valuable for your company. And obviously, that is always a good point, right? So how we go about handling some objections, and what are some of the typical questions that you might expect when you go into conversations? Now, again, it depends on where you sell it. What we find is that if you go into human resource departments or learning and development department of organizations, which is actually a very good entry point because they typically make a company policy type of statement and decision. So once the human resource department is convinced that this is adding value, that they say, well, this is great news because everybody we hire, by right, they should go first to CITO, then you have, of course, a great tool because now you are a standard offering and therefore orders will come in, more regularly. But sometimes we get questions like, well, I'm in HR, I would like to know what it's all about. Could I actually attend as well? I'm not really an IT savvy person. Could I attend it? And the answer is yes, you can, because especially CITO is talking things down really into layman terms, so to speak. So we're not going to talk about the bits and the bytes and making it all complicated. We're really putting it down in layman terms, easy for everybody to understand. Similar to salespeople. We have people that are in the IT industry selling IT solutions, and they also would like to the training, but they sometimes are afraid of having too much of a techie type of presentation. And no, you don't have to worry about that. It's very clear, very easy to understand. Another question that we often get. So basically now you're telling me that I don't need to send them to any other course anymore. So that 3-day ITIL course was all wasted. Would it be better to just send everybody to CITO? Well, yes and no, I would say. Our stand is very simple. As I said before, a lot of people are basically going through training courses but use a fraction of it. A good example, let's say junior IT staff, let's say somebody working at the service desk. If you look at, say, what they need to know from ITIL is really more about what are the various processes, how do they interact with each other, and what does this each process actually do. That's actually all they need to know. You could actually break down ITIL in a 1-2 hour framework discussion, show them how the flow is, and that's actually all they need to know. So why would you send somebody through that training, for example, where it would be more beneficial for them to just get a grasp of what ITIL is about, but instead of sitting 3-day only focusing on that, now you have a 2-3-day course where in specific CITO, a 2-day course where they can learn about the basics of ITIL, which they really require for their day-to-day job. They learn about cloud, they learn about competence frameworks, they learn about governance, they learn all these particular things they need to know as well. So great saving. Now, if somebody says, well, but this person actually is really involved into ITIL because we want this particular person to set up the processes, or he or she is becoming a change manager, therefore they need to know the process really up to down, left and right, then our argument would be get them through CITO, they get a great understanding of the whole IT discipline, and then you specialize them in that particular area, which could be in this case an ITIL area, it could be a network, it could be cloud security, etc., etc. Another question that we often get, how can you do the magic, right? How can you cover so many things in just a 2-day course or a 3-day course in the CITM case? Well, as I said, we are not going to the Einstein level. We really touching on all the topics. We have summarized it. It's almost like, you know, those companies that make a summary out of a 200-page book, and basically within 10 pages you get the whole gist of the book as well. That's what we have actually done. Take out all the fluff, focus on the key things that people use, and the rest, they can always read it at their leisure or go for a specialized course even when needed. Another thing that some people say, well, CITX sounds good, but yeah, it's also generic. I might as well go to the internet and find all the information myself. So my question then is always like, that is great news. So I assume that you don't send anybody to training at all in your company. And obviously then they say, no, we send them to, a cloud course, and oh no, we send them to VMware. So, well, that's a waste of money actually, because you can find all that information on the internet as well, right? Right? Training, is very simple. We are not telling people secrets. We are basically taking all information that is available in books, in videos, and anywhere on the internet, and we have created a structured learning approach. Yes, you can put people behind a screen, but if they would have to collect all the data, make sense out of it, know what is nonsense, what is not nonsense, etc., they will be wasting days and days and days. We have done all that work for you, and literally within a very condensed 2 or 3 day course, we can be so much more effective than having your staff sitting and wasting hours and hours behind the internet trying to find all that information. And hopefully they go to the right pages and find the true information rather than some wrong information. Other thing that we sometimes hear say, well, we are so busy, we have no time to sit in the classroom, right? We're understaffed, we're stressed out with all these new technologies, we don't have the time. Well, great for you, because we have EPI Academy, which is an online learning platform. So you don't have to put people in the classroom 2 days consecutive, 3 days consecutive. They can log on to the EPI Academy platform, take a module, review it again if they still want to have some stuff, interact with a trainer to send a question and get an answer back, etc. So really learning on demand at your own pace, basically anywhere, anytime, whether you do it from a mobile phone, a tablet, or your own typical computing environment. So that is some of the stuff that I think is handling some of the typical things that you might bounce into. Obviously, if you have sometimes questions that you think like, I'm not so sure how to handle that, feel free to approach us, obviously, and we can help you to formulate a good answer. So now let's look in, say, what is the whole delivery model, the partner model around this new training program. Now, typically, of course, you are the partner, you are the training company, and students will come to you, and you might have your own trainer who can then conduct this particular program. Very simple process. When you order an EXIN exam, you go to the portal as usual, you order the exam for the students that have registered, and now you will get the exam, and you will get also automatically the protected ebook. So it's all in one package, okay? From the EPI side, if you have an accredited trainer, we will send you the trainer's guide, which has, you know, the full discussion around what is the story around every slide, and it will have obviously the slide deck as well. We will also support you with any marketing resources in terms of competitive analysis, in-depth detail on what is in the course outline, etc., etc. So you really very simple, yeah, off to a great start by just going to the portal, order the exam, and you get basically all the material. Your accredited trainer gets all the material as well. So gone are the days where you have to develop or purchase your training material from other vendors, etc., which can be sometimes very taxing and obviously also a costing affair. Now, let's say that you don't have a trainer, or you don't want to get your trainer accredited yet. You really want to explore the market, you know, highlight this to customers, see what the feedback is, and only invest in getting your trainer certified, you know, when there is enough demand. We have two models for you then again. We have the model where you can basically, what we call rent the trainer, so to speak, from EPI, or you can offer them the EPI online learning platform. So basically you only have to pick up the order, and for the rest, everything is fulfilled, yeah, in the background for you. So very easy and very quick to start. By right, you could even start today, sending it to your customer base and say, here's a new program, what do you think about it? Low investment. The only investment you really would have to do is potentially getting your trainer accredited. But again, you could even say, let's not do that yet. We first going to rely on external trainers that have already been accredited, or we offer it through the online platform, and basically the only cost that you have is sending out a bunch of emails and collecting the orders. After that, all the fulfillment, yeah, will be done for you. Very high quality courseware, obviously accredited and reviewed by EXIN, and an instructor presentation ready. As I said, you don't have to build anything. You can basically really start today. So what are the offers that you can go back with to your customers? The first one is the traditional ILT, instructor-led training. In other words, classroom-based training with either your or our trainer. With your trainer, of course, fantastic margins to be gained. You can collect all the money in your pocket and run it from there. Another option, offline self-study. So if customers don't want to come to the classroom, or you don't have an own trainer yet and you would like to still push the program out, you can offer it as an offline self-study. So again, go to the EXIN portal, order the exam, get the ebook as part of it, send it to your customer, and they can take the exam through the EXIN online proctored EXIN Anywhere program. So again, you don't even have to see the customer, so to speak, if you don't want to, and ask them to come to your venue to do the exam itself. It can be all done at their leisure anywhere in the world, so to speak. The other option, EPI Academy, which is the online platform that I spoke about. Basically, they get a login code. They can look at all the videos, and the videos, the way it is recorded, is actually classroom recorded. So you have a live trainer standing there going through the material. And again, of course, it comes with an ebook and an exam. We have been asked, it's not really what we like, but we have been asked in some selected cases as well, that customers say, I don't want to go through the exam, it's all too scary. Or sometimes even companies that say, I don't want to do the exam because I'm afraid that, people run away once they've passed the certification. These things sometimes happen. You could actually offer it also with online video and ebook as well. Funny part is though that sometimes we see that although people like the whole video thing, then later they say, can I actually order the exam because I think the program is actually very interesting and I would love to go through the exam and have this credential on my resume. So 4 distinct offerings. So we really have something for any type of customer or organization demand, depending on what they would like to do and how they would like to get their people through the programs. So in case you would like to have your trainer, the trainer that you have already, or maybe a freelance trainer that you're using at this moment already, how can you get her or him certified to conduct these trainings? Well, very simple. Order the exam, the trainer's exam from EXIN. You will get again the student ebook, and he or she can actually go through the material and go through the exam. Now, the exam requirement for the trainer is at a higher level, is at 80%, and obviously there is a good reason because we want to make sure that trainers are at the appropriate knowledge level. But once they pass the exam at 80%, then basically they could go there. Once they pass, they send an email to support@epiip.com, and then they get access to the instructor's guide, so giving them the full story behind the slide deck and background information. And when they need to do a training, they can get the access to the ready to deliver presentation slide deck. So how do you go about ordering? Well, there are 2 types of avenues here. If you are doing your classroom style training, or you would like to offer your customer a self-study package, which is again the remote exam and the workbook. Again, simple, log into your EXIN portal, order it, and off you go. If you want to offer the EPI Academy, so the online type of training, then you would have to approach us at sales@EPI, and then we will get you the access to the portal, and we can arrange then for you also the exam and workbook as well. Again, as I said, student workbook is all for free, all included. Be aware that they are protected documents. So the documents will be watermarked with the student's name. And obviously we do that for a good reason, because we want to protect your interest as well. We want to avoid that one person goes to the training and start copying the material all over the company. So we make sure that it's a personalized copy so that people really understand that if they want to take up this particular training, they need to go to you back again as a partner and do the thing that they should be doing, do the official ordering. In terms of some of the questions that we often get from partners that have an interest, can the training be customized by us? The answer is actually no, and there is a very good reason for it. As I said, it's an accredited certification program, so it is very important to have the slide deck, meeting the exam requirements, and that's what we have all done for you. So it is basically a fixed slide deck, but don't worry about it. There's a lot of information in it. What we do see sometimes that some of the trainers, what they do, they use the existing slide deck, but they might, add a couple of things like showing a YouTube video about, certain things, etc., which is all supplemental material. And of course, you're always free to do that. But as a red line, basically through the whole story of the training, you are using the traditional slide deck. Can we print the workbooks? Can we as a partner print it, or can our students print it? Yes, they can. The copy of the electronic copy can be printed, but again, it will of course be watermarked for your protection. In terms of validity of the certification, it's a 3-year validity for the certificate, after which the students need to do the recertification. And of course, there is always a very good reason, because you and I know that the IT industry is so incredible fast in change that it would not make sense to have somebody having a certificate that is 10 years ago done, because obviously that will be outdated in many ways. The other question that we get, is the trainer also required to go through this? Well, the trainer obviously will do training on a regular basis. They will have a good comprehension of the material, But when there is a major change to the material, then we obviously require the trainer to go through recertification. As I said, the material is based on the EN norm. So if there is a major change in that, then it is obviously very clear that the trainer needs to be so-called retrained and make sure that they can show that they have the right knowledge again by passing an exam with the 80%. In terms of the deadline, if I have a trainer that goes through the material, when does he or she need to actually take the exam? Our strong advice is really to get them to do the exam within 3 months after ordering of the exam. Many reasons for it, because otherwise they might get sucked into the traditional day-to-day routine, forget about stuff, try to do the exam half a year later, fail, get frustrated, etc. The best is always to get them focused on learning the material and get them through the exam as quick as possible. Another question that we had a few times that people say, well, I have already some staff that went through CITP and CITS. Can they become a trainer now? Theoretically, the answer is yes, as long as they have passed their exam with more than 80%. Now, as you know, EXIN is always sending a coaching report showing the candidates how many points they got, how much percentage they got out of the questions. So if you review the coaching report and they have achieved more than 80%, then the answer is very simple. Yes, you could register them as a trainer. Some additional resources for you as a partner, because selling is always one thing. One tool that we have created for you is what we call the IT career planning tool. You can actually go online to the website that is shown here. You will get a copy of the slides after this webinar. And it's the IT career planning tool. Very simple to use for you, as well as your customer if they wish to do it themselves. The only thing they need to do is fill in the name, the email address, and then they can select out of a large list their current job role and or their future job role. And what the career planning tool does, it analyzes the competences required for those jobs, either today or tomorrow or both, and then give a comprehensive product roadmap or training roadmap, so to speak, that says these are the required trainings that we highly recommend for you to do now to make sure you can do the job well. And since you are moving in this job role, these are the additional courses that you should be thinking about to enhance your overall competences. So it lists all the CITX and other EXIN accredited courses. So very, very powerful. Sometimes customers, they feel a bit like, oh, here we have another salesperson trying to sell me something. You could say, you know what, go to the IT career planning tool, fill in your details, have a look at what the recommendations are, and then let's discuss, how you would like to move forward. The report obviously will be all nicely done in a PDF, so they can even forward it to their boss if they wish to do so. Another beautiful thing is that we also have a special way for you as a partner to deal with this particular tool. That means that you can actually get a partner login and do the work for your customer, right? You can say, what is your job role now? What would you like it to be? Let me generate a career development plan for you. Now, a lot of people like that, especially when you talk to individuals. We have seen human resource departments really like this as well, because they normally need to do this stuff all manually, taking a lot of their time away. And now you can actually offer this help as kind of a consultative approach. Another beautiful thing that we have done with this tool, we can actually, for you as a partner, get you a specialized link. And that link you can send to your customer, and as soon as they use that link, you can actually also get the report so that you know exactly which person might require what type of training. And again, you can then approach them. You can say, hey, these are the courses that are a good fit for you. Here is our schedule, etc., etc. So it really helps you shortcutting, so to speak, the time to sell, and also the time for you to analyze what people actually would need for a career development point of view. So action, 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 as they always say, right? Planning is good, but the fundamental of business is really getting things done. So there is a huge market out there, high growth potential. So really start today, I would say. Yeah, again, it's a very easy thing to do. Basically, with a small or no investment, you can actually start and offer this program to the market. CITO and CITM, they are available now. The exam, the self-study kit, and obviously for you, offering it as the interactive learning in the classroom setting. CITO is also available as we speak on the EPI Academy platform. CITM will be available in another 2 or 3 weeks. We do the last bit of quality assurance, and then it should be available well. And CITD, so the director's level course, it's very near completion, but obviously then we have to go through the strict requirements of examination and accreditation checks by EXIN. So we expect that to be all finalized somewhere in Q4. So how to start, really? Send us an email so we can give you information regarding the pricing. If you are an existing EXIN ATO, fantastic. You can order exams already. If you need to register as an ATO and not only offer the CITX type of program, but all the other fantastic programs that are in the EXIN portfolio, there is a small fee to pay, and then you can actually have a full access there. Start promoting it to your customer in any form or shape, whatever the customer really would like to have from an educational experience, and then think about maybe accrediting your trainer as well to really maximize potentially your margin and by offering a great learning experience in your venue. And with that, we are going through any questions and answers that you might have. Saskia, the mic is yours. Saskia, are you there?
Sorry, I thought I was already there.
Where was the mute button?
Was not unmuted properly. So yeah, we have a lot of questions, and I think a lot of them are even interesting for everyone. So I'll just go through them one by one, and then we'll see who can answer it correctly via the best. One is, can customers buy the exams directly from the EXIN website? And with customers.
Okay, at the moment, no. So we really would like to drive sales through the EXIN partner network. So to protect them from, end users basically bypassing the partner network. So at this moment, the answer is they have to go through an EXIN accredited partner, an ATO, and that's where they only can order. So as a partner, you are fully protected.
And I think it's also because training is mandatory, right, for the exam?
Yes, well, yes and no, because we also offer now the self-study capability, so people could theoretically sit at home, read a book, and then go through the exam as well. But we want to avoid that people go direct bypassing the partner network, obviously. So we try to create really value for the partner network.
Perfect. And there's some questions on the EPI Academy. One is, what do I need to do to sell EPI Academy video on demand? What are the prices and margin?
Okay, what you need to do is basically get the word out to the customer, say we have an online platform as well. So again, you could talk about these are the 4 different delivery options that we have for you, or maybe you want to focus only on self-study or online platform. Again, once you have a purchase order, then basically you come to EPI through the email address that we have shown. Again, you will get a copy of the slide deck. We will then set up the login, get you the information, and you will interact with your customer. We will not interact with your customer, obviously, and then from there. For pricing, send us an email, and then we can share the price list, because obviously globally there are different prices because of different countries. So send us an email, and then we can get you the information.
Perfect. I think it also answers the second question on the EPI Academy is how are questions from candidates that are in the EPI Academy and have questions during the meetings, how are they answered? But that would be via the trainer.
That is true. The trainer, yeah, actually, because it's a video style type of environment, but in there you also have, as a candidate, the option to click a message to the trainer. So there you can ask your questions, you fire it off, and then the trainer is obviously monitoring the incoming questions. There will be a time delay, it's not a chat window in that sense. So you will get an email back, and then you will get the appropriate answer.
Okay, and would there be a trainer from from you or from any? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the EPI Academy itself is monitored by obviously accredited trainers on our side. So that is this. Now, of course, as a partner, if you prefer to have your customers coming back to you for questions, of course, you're more than free to say, if you have any questions on what you learned in the portal, send us an email or send my trainer, Mr. or Mrs. X, the question, and then we'll answer you direct. So you have two ways to present it to your customer, depending on what kind of involvement you would like to have.
Okay. The next question is if it's a prerequisite to attend the course, but you already answered that before. Looks great, interested. We'll come back to you. Oh, yeah, well, someone's very interested, but they'll get a message on that, so that's good.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah. This is not really a question. I have a question about this session. Okay. Will you be sending off this? Yeah, someone asks if we will be sending out a copy of this presentation, and we will. I'm not sure, but perhaps you know if the webinar, because it's recorded, if we can send out the recording or only the slides.
I think the recording, I think it's possible we go to webinar to get an MP4 file or so, or through the website. I know there is a capability. I don't know exactly which format, but the answer is yes, we can send the recording. Yeah.
Perfect. Someone else asks, is EPI Academy live now?
The answer is yes for CITO. CITM, as I said, we're doing the last quality assurance checks. That should be in the next 2, maybe 3 weeks. Then that should be all online. Yeah.
Okay. Another question also concerning the sort of the EPI Academy. Can ATOs create their own e-learning based on official syllabus, or can EPI online materials be available for partners to host on their own LMS?
That's a very interesting and a very good question. At the moment, we don't do that because obviously in our LMS system there is a full, digital right management system, etc. And obviously we know exactly what is going on then, right? Which material people look at more, so it's probably more difficult for them, and that's how we actually enhance our material as well. So at the moment we don't have a model for hosting it in an outside LMS at the moment. No.
Okay. There's another question on how long does it take for the training for the trainer to last? Because you said you had some additional resources. Can you specify a bit on what that is?
Yeah, in principle, the trainer, they are going actually through the traditional student material at first, so they can go through it and read it themselves. The material is obviously filling for the CITO a good 2 days, for CITM 3 days, and after that they go there. Now, of course, a very experienced trainer who is already very familiar with a lot of the technologies, he or she might flip through the pages a bit faster than, say, somebody that's a bit more newer to the material. So how long it takes to really get to that level very much depends on the seniority, so to speak, of the person itself. And what was the other question? Now I forgot.
If you have added what's sort of the training package?
Oh yeah, the training. Yeah, okay. So once the trainer has passed the exam with 80%, then we only will send the whole the instructor guide. So that one has the full-blown story, all the background information, etc. And we do that because sometimes people are very eager to take this, and then we get so much material that we need to send out manually. So we do it really separate. So go through the student material, pass with 80%, and only then we start transferring the enhanced knowledge for the trainers themselves.
Okay. Another one is only CITO available in AP Academy, as in you've already mentioned for CITM, but what about the other EPI trainings for data center and everything? Is that also an EPI Academy?
No, at the moment that is not available yet. We are considering that at this moment, but it's not on the cards for the next couple of months, so to speak. So the EPI Academy is for now really focusing on the CITX program.
Okay. And do you want people to send you a message if they're interested in other courses, or you're not in that? Okay.
Always interested. Always interested. Sure.
Another question: can we set up an EPI from our system to yours, as we do with other providers? So our students enroll with us and pay you, and then they link through the system and take the courses each time?
Yeah, well, there are, and it's a bit of an individual because a lot of people have different systems, right? Either core-based or other type of based. So if somebody says we want people to come to our web portal, swipe the card, and then basically get a login through EPI, there are ways to do that through event management, etc. But then we really need to understand what is somebody else's platform. We also have the capability. If, for example, a partner has not yet an online payment capability, so to speak, we can also set up the arrangement that people can come to our website, so to speak, the EPI Academy website, swipe their card. We know that this person is registering through partner XYZ, and then whatever margin is supposed to go to partner XYZ, we can arrange for the transfer to partner XYZ.
Yep.
So it can work both ways.
Okay. We also have some questions on the accreditation itself, as in how do I become accredited? As you mentioned, there are already a lot of partners already accredited, but for the new ones, and is it a long process? I assume I will pick it up.
That's on you then. Yeah, exactly.
Well, as for the accreditation process with EXIN, that depends a bit on what of the 4 options you choose. But if you would become accredited directly with us, well, you're more than welcome to join us. Our accreditation process is specifically based on trust between us and our partners. So what we would ask you to do is, of course, sign a contract with us. There are some costs involved, as Edward already mentioned, but that opens up the whole scale of all modules that we offer. You can add as many trainers, as many supervisors, as many order persons you want. That's all in a fixed fee. And we don't need to see all the materials, but we just want you to declare to us that you've checked all materials, because you're the trainer, you know your job best, as it's also in your interest to have good materials. Of course, we send you all the materials, so all topics you should cover in the length and breadth of the topics. But it's not a lengthy procedure at all. We can have you accredited within a day. Hope that answers the question. Just see if there are any other questions we received. Well, the costs involved, you already mentioned that, right? That you prefer to someone to send you a mail to get you the specific price list.
Yeah, that's better, because then we know at least in which part of the world they are, and then we can send a specific price list. Yeah.
Yeah. There's another question. Are there any marketing activities planned from either EXIN side or EPI side on end user customers, so the candidate itself, to raise awareness of this new program?
Well, from what I know from our marketing side, we have discussions with EXIN as well to do a specific mailing action for people at the end user level, so to speak, people that have already gone through certain certifications. Out of the EPI side as well, we have a campaign set up for the traditional channels we have through partners, social media. We might organize even some more webinars, but then more towards the end user. This was really focused on the partners, but we intend to also have a webinar specifically addressing end users so that they understand the value proposition for their organization or for those people individually. So that's all in the pipeline.
Yeah.
If a partner has a specific interest, which sometimes we have, that somebody says, for my particular installed base, could you run the webinar for me? And maybe after that we do it ourselves, but at least we get to understand how you present and what we normally should talk about. Let us know again, and we're more than happy to work with your marketing department and see how we can assist you in that matter.
Okay, perfect. Another question is if for which countries is it available?
Worldwide.
Worldwide, and
anywhere on the planet.
And and it is in English, right?
The material is in English indeed, and also the EPI Academy is in the English language. So for some countries where obviously the local language would be preferred, what we typically find is that people say the candidates in IT, they are not bad at all at reading and writing English, because they do a lot of searching on the website in various forums, etc. But it adds value then to have, for example, your local trainer conducting the classroom-based training in the local language. But the material is in English at this very moment. We have not done any translation. and the EPI Academy is at this moment also purely in English. Obviously, if market demands pick up and there is a clear indication that another language should be added, then we always open to do so. But at this moment, it's English only.
Yeah, and the exam is in English as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the exam is English as well.
Yeah. Just check if because I think we're almost through all the questions. We already received a lot, so that's very good.
That's good.
Yeah, for now, these are the questions that we received, and I think they're sort of mostly questions that were of interest to everyone. So if anyone has a question they want to ask, ask now. I don't see anything, so I think we can wrap up for now.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so well, we already mentioned if you have any questions on pricing, just how to start everything, of course, that goes to EPI. If you have any additional questions of becoming a partner, being a partner, support in any way from EXIN, send a mail to support@exin.com. And thank you.
Thank you all very much. Have a lovely day, and we look forward to your interest.
Thank you. Bye-bye.